Hey everybody, welcome back to the K2N Online Paddle School. We're back here on YouTube, and this week we're breaking down what it means to overreach within a paddle stroke. This is a term that you may hear when people are looking at your stroke and giving you a coaching cue to try and fix certain ideas. When we look at the term overreaching, we want to think about that being applicable to how you're using your body. Overreaching comes from how you're using your joints within the stroke. The common misconception is overreaching is how far the blade reaches within the stroke and how long the paddle stroke is within the water. Ultimately, we want to utilize the paddle, our tool, as long as we can with the interaction with the water. So the issue arises when you hear a term, stop overreaching. Paddlers will now shorten their stroke and shorten how they're utilizing the tool. But because they don't understand the bigger picture, they don't address how their body is moving, and they don't make steps to correct the real issues in overreaching. There are other terms that we can use to refer to this as we go through the motion. When we break posture, this is overreaching. When we are overextending and stretching specific muscles, that is also overreaching. Today I want to spend some time going through each of the joints in its overreaching and how it affects the overall performance of your paddle stroke. So as demonstrated in the video before the introduction, the actual length of the stroke is not going to change that much if we're moving properly versus if we're moving improperly. So the actual length in the water and how the blade is reaching is going to be fairly similar. It's just how our leverages are maintained as we're utilizing the tool through the motion. The most common overreaching that you're gonna see is gonna be the top arm, right? When we hear reach, go forward, try to get the blade as far in front of you as you can, the first thing that is gonna want to happen is that your top arm is gonna wanna try to help as much as it can. It's gonna activate and come forward as far as possible. As my hand, elbow, and shoulder start to extend out, my body starts to reach with it, and now I'm very extended through the muscles from my hip, through my lats, all the way through my arm here. Overreaching is this part of the body overextending itself. So from a muscular standpoint, one of the reasons this is so inefficient is when these muscles stretch, the first thing they have to do is they have to contract again before we can transfer energy throughout the whole body. As they are going through this motion of extension and contraction, these are all fairly small muscles, and this range of motion that I'm going through of extending and contracting here is very weak inherently. I have to pull my leverages back to me before my legs and hips moving now begins transferring energy through the whole body. A great visual example of this is the deadlift. If you reach over to a bar and stretch every torso muscle that you have, you stretch your upper back and your lumbar, and you reach down to the bar, your body has to straighten its back out before your legs even have an opportunity to transfer energy while you're standing up. So this is a problem because as you're lifting up through that first range of motion, you are lifting potentially a lot of weight using very fragile muscles that are extended for no good reason, finding a way to try and contract before the legs can re-engage. So properly deadlifting is tightening up all these muscles and then hinging down to grab the barbell. Within a paddle stroke, we're looking for something similar. We want the torso muscles to be very contracted, and then we want to rotate in order to put the paddle in the position that we want. My blade tip position is going to overall be very similar, even if I extend out like so, or if I contract and keep all my leverages together and find positive blade angle. As we stretch out all of these muscles, our body does not connect those muscles to each other again. So when you lean forward, you disconnect your legs from the paddle stroke. So now when we're looking at the tool, as the arm overextends itself in front of us, we may potentially get what we perceive as more length in the water, but our tool is in a more compromised leverage position. The paddle is going to move like a pendulum. So if I go into the water neutral, the paddle is instantaneously going to go to a negative position as I start the stroke. So when we engage with the water, having positive blade angle is so important. That way we can start grabbing water with a leverage advantage, and we get much further back into the stroke before we reach this neutral angle. This is another common misconception within the stroke, is that we can put the blade in the water here and the blade can magically travel in a neutral position straight back towards us. The only way that that's possible is if the top elbow bends and does this motion here. And this is not strong or feasible within a paddle stroke. In order to get top hand pressure, we have to push down with our top hand, and immediately the top hand is going to overtake the bottom hand. As we complete a stroke, this top hand is going to continuously move forward as we are engaging with the water. If we start in an overreaching position, the first thing that's going to happen is here, this hand goes forward, this bottom hand comes towards me, I have a neutral angle, and I just started the stroke. So positive blade angle gives us this leverage advantage that we can push into the water, and we can get very far into the stroke before the paddle is actually neutral to negative. So ultimately, you want to try to get the blade tip as far in front of you as you can without compromising any of your posture or movement. Understanding what overreaching really is, and then understanding how we can move properly to get the blade length in the water in the same position can help you get more out of your paddle stroke. Posture and leverages is the key to getting more out of your stroke. Thank you all so much for checking out the video, and I want to say a huge thank you for everybody that has been watching and supporting the channel in 2024. This will be our final video of the year. Very excited going into 2025, both for the YouTube channel and myself personally, and coaching opportunities that are arising in 2025. I just want to spend this time to say thank you all so much for all of the ongoing support, and we're really excited to keep things going into the new year. Big shout out to all of our YouTube members, and their names are going to appear here. If you look really close in the video, I actually have a small tan line on the top of my head near my hairline because I've been wearing a hat. It is December, and I am out on the water so much that I am actually getting a tan. If you are somewhere where you can't paddle and you want to come down to Florida to paddle, get some time in, we have vessels available here at Lake Hernando. I am available every day of the week to provide coaching. If you want to come in and spend time in person for coaching, please reach out anytime via email or on the website. Don't forget to check out the K2N Online Paddle School to check out our coaching packages as well as access to the online school videos. Thank you all again. We'll see you next week for our next paddle tip video.